Every morning, two invisible hands come to wake us up, one from the clock and the other from the Creator. The clock tells us it's time to rise, but God tells us it's time to live. Now the question is key: do we wake up just to exist, or do we rise to elevate? My friends, you were not created just to repeat yesterday. You were created to rise like a legend, with purpose, with power, and with peace. The way you start your morning can either set you on fire or burn you out. Most people wake up like they're being dragged out of sleep. The alarm rings, the eyes open, and the first thought is, "Off again." They pick up their phone, scroll through meaningless updates, get out of bed without gratitude, rush into the world carrying yesterday's stress. And then we wonder, why does life feel so heavy? Why am I tired even after sleeping 8 hours? The truth is, legends start their day by accident. They start it on purpose. A purposeful morning isn't about being busy. It's about being aligned. It's about connecting with the higher source, calming the inner chores, and carrying an energy that doesn't break under pressure. If your morning is powerful, if your whole day flows, if your morning is divine, your actions become refined. And when your first hour is in the hands of God, your entire life feels like it's guided by grace. So today, I invite you to build a morning that fuels your inner fire, not with coffee or chaos, but with clarity, connection, and collusion and calmness. You don't need a different world to feel different. You just need a different way to start your day. Let's explore 7 ways to start your morning like a legend. Not just to feel good, but to live great. Not just to chase success, but to flow with strength. Because your energy in the morning is your signature for the whole day. When the alarm goes off in the morning, most people hit snooze not once, but twice, maybe even 3 times. They pull the blanket back over their head, irritated, dragging their body through the start of the day. And this very moment, that first few minutes after waking up, silently shapes everything that follows. What if we shifted that moment, that mindset, that energy? What if instead of groaning, we started the day with gratitude? You see, gratitude is not a fancy word reserved for motivational books or social media captions. It is a powerful force, one that literally reshapes how we see life. The way you wake up is the way you live. If the first thought you allow in your mind is, "Ooh, I don't want to do this today," then your entire day follows that vibration. But if your first thought is, "Thank you, God, for this new opportunity," your day begins to carry grace. Because the truth is, even waking up is not guaranteed. Somebody out there did not open their eyes this morning, and we did. That alone is a divine gift. Think about it. Your eyes opened, your heart is still beating, your lungs are working without you doing anything. Your family is under the same roof, the sun is rising for you, and your soul is still carrying the power to make today better than yesterday. Isn't that enough to be thankful for? We often think we'll be grateful after we get what we want. After the promotion, after the relationship, after the goal is reached. But true spiritual living means being grateful before you receive anything. Gratitude is not a reward, it is a discipline. It is an attitude. It's how legends begin their day, no matter what's going on in their life. A man once told me he had everything: a high-paying job, a luxury home, fame, influence. And yet every morning he woke up feeling empty. He would scroll his phone, check his emails, get dressed, and rush out. But even with all his external achievements, internally he was poor, because he forgot to feed his soul. I simply told him, try starting your day by sitting on bed for 2 minutes and whispering, Thank you. He laughed and said, That's it. I said, Yes, that's it. But do it every single day. After a few weeks, he called and said, Something's changing. I still have problems, but I feel less heavy. I feel calmer. I feel richer without spending a single rupee. That is the power of spiritual wealth. It doesn't come from what you own, but from what you recognize. Start your day with the smallest act of gratitude. Before your feet touch the floor, say thank you. Before you check your messages, thank the universe, thank God, thank the breath that is entering your body. Don't wait for life to become perfect before you feel thankful. Gratitude is not about ignoring your struggles. It's about honoring the blessings that still exist within them. Even in pain, there is growth. Even in chaos, there is opportunity. Even in loss, there is divine protection. But only a grateful heart can see that. Children are naturally grateful. If you give a child a simple tea or a chocolate, their eyes light up with joy. But as we grow, we become entitled. We stop seeing the little things as miracles. We wake up and expect the water to run, the lights to work, the breakfast to be on time, our body to obey us. We don't realize that none of these are promised. When we lose them, then we remember how precious they were. But the wise don't wait for loss to be grateful. They train their eyes to see beauty in what already is. Imagine beginning each day like this. You open your eyes and say, Thank you for this life. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for another chance. Then you get off bed not with reluctance, but with reverence. You brush your teeth as if you are preparing yourself for a meeting with the divine. You eat your breakfast as if it is a sacred offering. You walk through the world not just as a person trying to survive, but as a soul here to serve. This kind of morning builds a legendary life. Not one that's necessarily loud or famous, but one that's deeply fulfilled. Because legends don't rise with noise. They rise with awareness. And gratitude is the highest awareness a human being can carry. It reminds us that we are not the center of the universe, but we are lovingly held by something far greater than ourselves. That in itself is reason enough to smile when the sun rises. That in itself is strength when everything else feels weak. So, tomorrow morning when you wake up, don't reach for your phone. Reach for your heart. Feel it beating. That's God's reminder that your story is not yet over. Smile and say thank you. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are perfectly positioned to try again. Start your morning not like the world expects you to, but like your soul knows you should. Start it with gratitude, and you'll start it like a legend. Before the world gets a hold of you, before messages pile up, before news headlines flood your mind, before everyone else's urgency becomes your emergency, you must take a sacred pause. This moment, just after you wake up, is a doorway. On one side is peace, on the other is pressure. The choice you make here shapes not just your morning, but your mood, your energy, and your connection with the divine. And sadly, most people hand this holy moment to a screen. They wake up, and the first thing they touch is their phone. Not their heart, not their breath, not even their prayer beads. Just that cold, glowing screen that starts pouring the noise of the world into their still half-sleeping soul. Let's be honest, this habit is so common, so automatic, that we don't even realize how much it's costing us. Checking your phone first thing in the morning is not just a habit. It's a spiritual trap. You give your mind to the chaos of others before you give it to the calmness of God. You start responding before you even remember who you are. You compare yourself to someone's holiday photos. You read a piece of disturbing news, or you scroll endlessly through a feed that does nothing to feed your soul. And then we wonder, why am I anxious before 9 a.m.? Why do I feel heavy before the day has even begun? The solution is simple but powerful: silence before screens. Before the digital world gets your attention, give your awareness to the divine. Begin your day in silence. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, sit still. Close your eyes. Listen to your breath. Feel the life inside you. Speak to God, not through words, but through awareness. This silence isn't emptiness. It is where everything meaningful begins. In that silence, you will notice something beautiful. Your own inner voice, which is usually drowned by notifications. You will begin to feel your intuition. You'll sense the quiet guidance from God that's always there, waiting, but never shouting. You'll be able to notice how your body feels, how your thoughts move, how your energy flows. That awareness helps you reset. It helps you stop carrying yesterday's stress into today's potential. It gives you the chance to begin again, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. There was a woman who came to me once, frustrated with her mornings. "I do everything right," she said. "I wake up early, I eat healthy, I exercise, but I still feel lost. I still feel drained." When I asked her what her very first action was in the morning, she said, "I check my phone. That's it. That one act, so small, so innocent, was robbing her of all the peace she was trying to cultivate later." I suggested something radical to her: give the first 50 minutes of your day to God and yourself. No phone, just silence or prayer or writing, anything but screens. She hesitated, but she tried it. After a few days, she came back with tears in her eyes. "I feel like I've met myself for the first time in years," she said. "It's like my soul is finally breathing again." When you start your morning with silence, you're saying something powerful to the universe. I choose presence over pressure. I choose stillness before movement. I choose soul over scroll. And this choice creates ripples throughout your day. You become less reactive, more peaceful. You stop rushing through life like to your own destiny. You begin to walk with grace, not just speed. This practice also opens the space for prayer or meditation, which too many people skip because they think they don't have time. But the real truth is, you do have time. You're chosen. You're just giving the most sacred minutes of your morning to meaningless things. How often do we complain that we feel disconnected from God, but we check our notifications more than we check in with the Creator? That disconnection isn't a punishment. It's a reflection of our priorities. If you make space for silence before you open your phone, even for a few minutes, you're already realigning yourself with your highest purpose. Don't wait for a vacation or a spiritual retreat or a weekend to find peace. Create it every morning. Sit on your bed, breathe deeply, whisper gratitude, speak to God in your own way. Write down your thoughts, light a candle, close your eyes, let silence flood into the spaces where noise once ruled. Let your soul settle before the storm of daily life begins. This is not wasted time. This is invested energy. Energy that will return to you in the form of clarity, emotional strength, and divine alignment. Remember, your phone is a tool, not your temple. Use it when you're ready, not out of compulsion. Don't let the first voice you hear be the voice of social media. Let it be the voice of silence, of God, of your own stillness. Because that voice is the one that knows exactly who you are and where you're meant to go. So tomorrow morning, try it. Just 5 minutes. No phone, no noise, just you, your breath, and the divine presence that's been waiting patiently to guide you. Begin in silence, and you'll walk like a legend. The first conversation you have in the morning is the one that matters most. Not the conversation with your phone, not with your inbox, not even with the people around you. It is the conversation with the one who gave you breath, the one who sustains you even when you forget Him, God. When you wake up and immediately speak to your stress, to your schedule, or to your anxiety, you are handing your peace over to things that don't know your worth. But when you wake up and speak to God, even in the most simple, quiet, honest way, you start the day anchored. That's not just a habit, that's a spiritual power. You don't need to perform. You don't need fancy words. You don't need to sound holy. You just need to be real. Sit up, place your hand on your heart, and speak from soul to source. I'm here, I'm grateful. Please guide me today. That's enough. That single moment of divine connection can change the quality of your entire day. There's a beautiful truth in life. Whatever you speak to, you strengthen. If you speak to your problems first thing in the morning, they grow bigger in your mind. If you speak to your fears, they become louder. But if you speak to your Creator, your wisdom becomes stronger. Your heart becomes calmer. You remember that you're not alone, that you are being carried by something far greater than your circumstances. So many people think prayer or speaking to God has to be saved for temples, rituals, or religious hours. But the most powerful prayers are often whispered between yawns in the early hours, with messy hair and sleepy eyes, with no audience but the divine. And that's where magic begins. When you make God your first thought, not your last resort. I remember meeting a man who was extremely successful by the world's standards. Luxurious car, big business, commanding presence. But he told me something that shocked me. Every morning I wake up with a panic. It's like my chest is tight and my brain starts racing before I even sit up in bed. I asked him, "What do you do the moment you wake up?" He said, "I start thinking about my meetings, my targets, my problems." I smiled and gently said, "You are having a meeting with stress before you meet your own self. What if you met God first?" He was silent. That silence told me he had never thought of that. A few weeks later, he came back and said, "I tried it. I didn't do anything complicated. I just sat on my bed and said, 'Thank you for this day. Please help me through it.' That's all." And it felt peaceful, like I wasn't alone anymore. That is the power of divine dialogue. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to begin your day with the one who holds everything. When you speak to God, you remind your mind that it is not your job to control every outcome. Your job is to surrender and to serve, to show up but not to obsess, to plan but not to panic. Speaking to God is not about asking for things. It's about remembering that you are not things. You are a soul, a light, a creation of something infinite. And when you speak to that source, your worries shrink, your intentions sharpen, your heart softens, and suddenly the traffic doesn't irritate you. The people who would normally trigger you don't affect you the same way. You move through the world as someone who has already had the most important meeting of the day. And what's beautiful is that this conversation doesn't require silence, incense, or a sacred space. It can happen in the bathroom while you brush your teeth. It can happen while you make your bed, or even while you sip your morning tea. It just requires intention, a moment of turning inward, a moment of saying, "Guide me, protect me, let me be useful today." Think of it this way: You charge your phone every morning to function properly. But what about your spirit? It also needs to be charged. And the best charger is not coffee, not music, not your to-do list. The best charger is divine connection. God's energy flowing through your intentions, your actions, your words. When you speak to God first, even your failures feel lighter because you know they have meaning. Your challenges don't feel like punishments, they feel like preparation. And this changes your attitude. You stop chasing validation. You stop reacting to everything. You begin responding from a place of centeredness. From that inner knowing that you are not lost, you are not random, you are not forgotten. You are being guided. So tomorrow morning, try this before the world gets your voice. Give your voice to God. Let your first words be not, "What do I have to do today?" but "How can I serve today?" Not, "How will I fix everything?" but "Please help me walk with clarity and courage." These simple shifts in conversation lead to powerful shifts in consciousness. Your body is not just a machine to move you from one task to another. It is not a burden you drag through the day. It is not a project that only deserves love when it looks a certain way. Your body is a divine instrument, a sacred vessel gifted by God. It breathes without you asking. It beats with no reminder. It holds your emotions, carries your pain, expresses your love, and supports your every dream. And yet, for many people, the first thing they do in the morning is ignore this miracle. They get out of bed, stumble into the routine, rush through the motions, and forget the very thing that allows them to experience life, their physical self. Moving your body in the morning is not about aesthetics, it's about alignment. When you stretch, walk, breathe, or gently activate your body at the start of the day, you're not just waking up your muscles. You're waking up your awareness. You're reminding yourself, "I am alive, I am here, and I am grateful." You are tuning the instrument before playing the symphony of the day. We often hear the phrase, "Your body is a temple," but we rarely live like we believe it. We treat temples with reverence. We clean them, we protect them. We don't let them be polluted. Can you imagine walking into a beautiful temple and ignoring its sacredness? But many of us do this every day, not in temples, but in our own skin. We disrespect our body with neglect by sitting for hours without movement, by filling it with stress, with tension, and by thinking it's not worthy of care unless it performs perfectly. That mindset is not just unhealthy, it is unspiritual. When you move your body with love, you're practicing devotion. It's not about lifting heavy weights or running fast. It's about moving with mindfulness. Even something as gentle as a 5-minute stretch, a short walk under the sky, or some slow breathing can create a massive shift in your energy. You tell your body, "I honor you. I am with you. Let's do this day together." And suddenly, your body responds with more vitality, more balance, and more trust. There's a story of a man who lived in the mountains. Every morning, before beginning his work, he would walk barefoot for 10 minutes in silence, feeling the grass under his feet and the cool air on his face. Someone once asked him, "Why do you do this every day?" He smiled and said, "It's how I greet the universe. It's how I remind my body that it belongs to the earth and my soul that it belongs to the sky." This simple ritual, no gym, no equipment, no drama, was his way of connecting with creation. That's what sacred movement looks like. It's not always sweaty, it's soulful. And yet, we live in a world where movement has been reduced to punishment. Burn calories, fix this, reduce that. But the truth is, the body does not thrive under criticism. It blossoms with care. Real self-respect is not built by comparing your body to someone else's. It is built by building a relationship with your own body. It is built when you take time each morning to move it, feel it, thank it, and listen to it. Have you ever noticed how stagnant your mind feels when your body is still for too long? How negative thoughts grow louder when you're tense? How your energy drops when you haven't breathed deeply for hours? This is not a coincidence. The mind and body are intimately connected. When you move your body, you move your emotions. You release stress. You free yourself from yesterday's heaviness. You tell your system, we are no longer stuck. We are flowing again. There was a young woman who struggled with anxiety for years. She tried everything: therapy, meditation, medication. But what finally helped her was a very simple habit. Each morning, she would play a soft instrumental song and just sway. Just 5 minutes of slow, intentional movement. No performance, no pressure. Just her and her breath. That became her ritual. Over time, she felt stronger, not just physically, but spiritually. She began to trust her body. She began to trust life. Because movement helped her feel present. And presence is what legends are made of. When you honor your body each morning, you're not just preparing for the day. You're preparing your soul. You're reminding yourself that life flows through you, not around you. You're not separate from creation. You are creation. And when you move with grace, you begin to live with grace. So tomorrow morning, before you pick up your phone, before you dive into your work, take just a few minutes to move. Stand tall, stretch your arms toward the sky, feel the earth under your feet, breathe in deeply. Let your breath fill every corner of your being. Walk slowly, roll your shoulders, twist your spine gently. Whatever movement you choose, let it be infused with awareness. Don't just go through the motion, be in the motion. This is not exercise. This is existence, consciously lived. The way you feed your mind in the morning is as important as the way you feed your body. We're so used to thinking about breakfast in terms of food. Calories, carbs, tea or coffee. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is my mind consuming while I sip this tea? Because before we take a single bite of our meal, many of us have already allowed our minds to chew on anxiety, comparison, stress, or distraction. And the truth is, a hungry mind is far more dangerous than a hungry stomach. One wrong mental bite in the morning, a disturbing post, a bitter memory, a critical message, and your entire emotional appetite for the day changes. That's why wise people choose to feed their minds first and feed their mouths later. Imagine this. You sit on the edge of your bed, eyes still adjusting to the light. Instead of picking up your phone, you pick up a spiritual book. You read just one page that uplifts, one paragraph that reminds you of your higher self, one sentence that recenters your heart. Or maybe you don't read. Maybe you listen. A voice of wisdom, an audio message that pours faith into your ears, not fear. Or maybe you simply sit in silence and reflect. That is how legends begin their day, by feeding their spirit before feeding their stomach. We forget that the mind is not empty when we wake up. It's vulnerable. It's like freshly fallen snow. Whatever footprints you allow in first, they leave the deepest marks. If the first voice you hear is one of anger or fear or noise, it creates a rhythm of restlessness that's hard to shake. But if the first voice here speaks of calmness, truth, strength, and devotion, your entire being shifts. Your words become softer. Your eyes become gentler. Your thoughts become wiser. Because you have rooted yourself in something higher. There was a young student once, extremely intelligent, driven, and full of potential. But he always seemed unsettled. He would wake up and immediately check all his messages, news headlines, and social media, even before brushing his teeth. He said, "I feel like I'm already behind the world before I even start the day." When I asked him what his morning ritual was, he replied, "I don't have one. I just react." That one word, react, explained everything. Most people don't begin their day. They react into it. They let the world tell them how to think, how to feel, how to move. They feed their mind whatever pops up on a screen and expect peace to come automatically. But peace is not automatic, it's intentional. So I suggested to him a small shift. I told him, before the world enters your mind, let wisdom enter first. I gave him a few short spiritual quotes to read each morning. That's it, just a few lines, a 5-minute practice, a seed of mindfulness. After a few weeks, he said something beautiful. My mornings feel like they belong to me now, not the world. Me. That's the power of feeding your mind before your mouth. You claim your morning. You protect your peace. You remind yourself of who you are before the world tries to tell you who you should be. And feeding the mind doesn't mean information, it means inspiration. It's not about how much news you can absorb, it's about how much truth you can remember. Maybe it's a prayer you learned in childhood. Maybe it's a verse that reminds you to be patient. Maybe it's a reflection on gratitude or a poem that awakens your compassion. Whatever it is, it should nourish, it should elevate, it should quiet the noise and ignite the light within. Just as we wouldn't start the day with junk food, we shouldn't start it with junk thoughts. Be mindful of your mental breakfast. What are you feeding your soul? Who are you listening to? Whose voice shapes your thinking before you've even spoken your first word? Don't allow gossip, negativity, comparison, or fear to be the first ingredients in your spiritual recipe. Choose better. Choose something that feels like sunlight entering a dark room. There's a temple in the mountains where monks begin their day not with conversation, but with contemplation. For the first hour, no one speaks. Each one walks in silence, reads a scripture, sits by a candle, or watches the sunrise. One monk once said, "It's not silence, it's tuning, like an instrument before a concert." We're tuning ourselves to peace so that our day becomes a melody, not a mess. That is the essence of feeding the mind first, tuning your soul to the frequency of the divine. So tomorrow morning, before you eat, ask yourself, what am I feeding my inner world? Let your first thoughts be intentional. Keep a book beside your bed. Prepare a short morning message of wisdom. Write down your own affirmations. Or just sit with yourself, hand on heart, and say, "Guide me today." Let your inner wood be full before the outer world demands anything from you. Because when your soul is full, you won't chase distractions. When your mind is steady, you won't be shaken by storms. And when you feed your spirit first, your entire day tastes better.